parents with language barriers might be able to better to support their students at home by having a better understanding of the platform that our English videos, would not be open for them to understand. So that is all I have to share at this time. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to entertain them at this time.
Good job.
Yeah, great job.
That's helpful.
Very helpful.
Thank you. Close those
I
out.
want to publicly thank Ms. Smith, Mr. Maddox, Mr. Crawford, Ms. Cruz, entire team. I cannot tell you what has gone into putting together the hybrid locations, the ARA, and especially the remote platforms. What they have done just in the last 24 hours in training, I haven't seen any division do that yet. So kudos to them. I have an awesome team. So I appreciate their hard work. For me, that's it. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Neighbors, who's going to give you an update on special education.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. You have in your packets a memo outlining the measures that are being implemented to ensure that we're prepared to serve our students with disabilities as we return to school this fall. What I wanted to start with was some of the training that we've been conducting this week in particular. We've polled all of our special education teachers. Today we've polled further teachers and serving specific populations to provide more specific training on what things are going to look like as we move forward. This has included updates to our process and procedures. We've actually developed a brand new process manual for this year for our teachers to ensure that they have the pieces that they need to move forward and provide adequate services for our students, but trying to pull them to talk through what these different components are going to look like and how we are adapting to some of the new environments and new supports that are going to be necessary for our identified students. What I wanted to highlight, we talked a little bit about it earlier, we have also developed a document related to assessments. So we did have some assessments that weren't able to be conducted due to the COVID school closure. We are in the process of resuming those, and as a part of that, trying to adapt to these new health mitigation strategies that are in place. I did talk a little bit earlier about some of the actual materials that have been purchased. We are trying to differentiate our PPE for these staff to ensure they have what they need to still conduct these assessments with fidelity and get results that are accurate so we can provide appropriate services and supports for students. We have given them some universal protocols to follow. We further broke that down by discipline area to ensure that each group, our special education teachers, our school psychologists, speech language pathologists, and so on, have specific concerns addressed with particular assessments that they will be conducting. So they've received that document. We've had some training on that, and we're in the process of continuing to gather that PPE to ensure they have what they need to conduct those with fidelity. Then I want to talk also about team meetings and reviews. So each of our IEPs in the division are going to be in the process of being reviewed in addition to our 504 plans to ensure they accurately reflect the needs of the student in their chosen area. We have a growing number of identified students who will be participating remotely in instruction, and with that, of course, comes the need for us to adapt how we are providing those services, how they are having access to their accommodations, what we are putting in place to be able to do that. We do currently have 12 special education teachers assigned to students in the English Remote Academy, exclusively for the purposes of ensuring that those accommodations are accounted for, that direct services are applied to those students, that those are available, and we're accounting for needs as they arise. More so for this population than any other, we need to ensure that we're monitoring that progress. We're pulling people together to talk about what else might need to be done in the event that the student isn't successful in their chosen curriculum at this point. When we're talking about our related services, and again, we spoke a little bit about this earlier with our speech language pathology and the services that they offer to students, we have worked with them and have had quite the learning curve. They really dove into it and been proud of them for doing that, about what teletherapy looks like, how we provide those services in a virtual format to our students. Simply because family has elected to go remote doesn't mean that those services don't still apply. We need to figure out how we adapt to that, provide that in that virtual format. Again, working to get the necessary technical components to be able to provide that with fidelity and in a way that's actually able to enable those students to make progress within their identified goals. Service provision is obviously the biggest component for us. All of those are individual determinations by IEP teams. I've asked all of our special education teachers to consider student by student what those needs are and how a shift in enrollment is going to impact not just what the student needs, but our ability to be able to provide those pieces. So having those conversations with families, with those students to ensure that we've met all of those different needs is going to be essential as we move forward. Our teachers are in the process of reaching out to each individual student and their family to conduct those meetings, to talk through what we need in regards to creating those plans, making sure we're adapting to what the needs are going to be depending upon their enrollment, whether it's face-to-face or participating in remote instruction. We talked a little bit about student schedules as well. Obviously, we have different schedules with our different levels and certain students who may be in for a couple of days of the week or 4 days of the week. Ultimately, IEP teams need to consider the needs of each individual student as we're talking about assigned schedules. Ultimately, we, just like everything else, making determinations based on those individual disability-related needs as to whether or not a student needs to be in school for a certain number of days, certain types of services, how that plan is outlined, ensuring we're meeting those individual needs of each student. Obviously, that is a very quick overview of that information outlined there in that memo. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
I do not.
All right. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, I'm going to begin tonight with an overview of our vacancy and fill report. I was here just a couple weeks ago, I think, asking for some more time, partly because of some of the vacancies that we still had, so thank you for that. I'm happy to say in the professional staff area, we're doing very well. We have one vacancy. That's for a school nurse at the middle school level. We were at 100% actually just a couple weeks ago, so we just have that one position open, which we will get filled. I think we have interviews scheduled for Friday. I think we have a plethora of excellent candidates available. From the classified perspective, I'm going to start kind of with what we filled and then talk about what's left and what we're doing for that. We filled 2 of our open custodial positions since we last spoke. We also have hired 2 one-year positions in the custodial position since we last spoke, and those are folks we're hiring to take on some of the additional cleaning and sanitizing responsibilities in light of our pandemic. We have filled our computer technician position. We've hired 2 bus drivers. We still have 3 open bus driver positions, however. We do have 2 individuals who are training. We are able to take people through the training with the CDLs and do some testing. That is a process, though. So though we have 2 people in training, transportation, that takes a while to go through that and to test, actually get some hours on the road before they can actually start. We do still have 3 child nutrition program assistants vacancies. We're holding on those just to see what our numbers look like on site before we decide, how many we need to fill of those, and Ms. Klein's working on that. Substitutes is an area of concern always, and I will tell you, I think I mentioned last time that we had about a third of our subs returning from last year. We have 77 returning as it stands right now. That's up from, actually, we were at about 50-something last time we spoke. We put some things in place to get them to reapply. We had 171 to end last year. We do typically start lower than where we end up, though. So last year we began the year with 118. So compared to last year, right now we're about 41 short, about 41 fewer than where we started last year. So we have 7 scheduled for orientations. So that's upcoming. I'll be running substitute orientations that'll look a little different now. We've added different components of training and professional development for our substitutes. Gone through and revamped the entire substitute handbook to make sure that it is not only current and up to date, but reflects what's needed these days. The things that we've been doing to increase our substitute enrollment are broadcasting through Talent Ed. So we've pushed out information to everybody who has applied to us to see if they're interested in these positions, maybe if they haven't received a different position. Social media, you may have seen those being pushed out, our social media blasts. Our billboard, it is an excellent looking billboard, I will say that, but it actually has been effective. Prior to the billboard and some other informational pieces going out, we had 0 applicants in the custodial pool, and that went up to 6 not that long after we had done those type of things. So some of the people noted that that's where they got the information. Child care workers, that's another area that's we do have our child care workers in place for our work days right now, but that's going to increase. We're going to ultimately need 15 positions as of September 8th and 9th once we get going with students. And we've also pushed out similarly broadcasts for those positions through our university partners, pushing out through Randolph and U of L, LU, and Sweetbriar, information to students to see if any of them will be able to fill those shifts before and after school. There'll be a radio announcement coming out on WYYD. You should see that probably in about a week or so, because right now we're working on getting that together. So those are our needs, and the biggest areas of need that I feel like we have. We talked a little bit about instructional assistants when we talked about the Amherst Remote Academy. We do have 5 individuals that we've interviewed. We actually interviewed a few more, but we have 5 that we are available to actually go ahead and offer if we choose. But we're evaluating right now the availability of current instructional assistant staff to see if any of those folks may be reassigned due to the numbers moving into the virtual academy, bringing up some individuals. And so we don't necessarily hire additional staff before we can identify whether we can reassign some of our current staff who may become more available due to those changes. That's something that we're trying to get wrapped up very soon so that we can make those decisions. And if we do need the additional staff, that we can go ahead and hire them. I think that's everything I have as far as hiring and vacancies and the fill report. Any questions about any of those areas or anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I have just one, and you have to address this. You were talking about, I believe, instructional aids to help in the remote academy.
Well, actually, to help, I misspoke. It's not for the remote academy. It's probably on site to assist. What I meant to say was that I don't know that we'll have as much of a need for additional staff to support the cleaning, supporting the teachers, supporting all the different things that we have going on in our building, mostly on site. So I apologize because we've got to reassign some of the staff we currently have.
I guess when you said that, it made me think, do we have substitutes that are available to step into a remote responsibility?
Right. So that is a challenge. We have only a few individuals who are going to need long-term substitutes during some brief absences for FMLA or otherwise. So we are getting some qualified subs in to go through our training process so that they can step in and do that. On a typical daily basis, we do not have individuals who will be trained well enough to take over a classroom in the ARA to do those things. So that's something that we're going to have to work with. If somebody ends up taking a sick day, for example, or if they have appointments and they're not able to provide those services during that day, they're probably going to have to make up that time because we don't have substitutes who are qualified and trained in Canvas, Virtual Virginia, to step in and do those, at least as of right now. So we do know of some of those vacancies that are going to be a little bit longer term, and we're trying to prepare those few individuals to step into those roles. But that is a challenge that we're facing because it takes some intensive training to do that. And though we are providing substantially more professional development to our substitutes as we do the orientation, it's not the depth of the weeks of training that our individuals are receiving to be prepared to run these classrooms virtually.
Maybe do some of that ongoing, as the year starts.
Absolutely.
You never know when you're going to have an unexpected type of absence that's long-term or something.
That's correct. So, unfortunately, we do have some licensed personnel on our substitute list who are, competent and can at least serve the purpose to the best of their capacity until we get them trained up. But we'll do our best to make sure they're prepared. So, yeah. Any other questions in that area? So, if not, I'll move on to the school calendar. We have reposted the school calendar. You approved it previously. What we didn't have in there previously were a few dates, and if you look at your calendar in front of you, we've added the kindergarten registration dates for April 20th and 21st, and we've also added report card dates. So I'll let you look at that and review and see if you have questions, but otherwise, nothing else since you last approved it.
Never know if I did 10, you're going to say.
Yeah, hopefully not more than 4 or But no, actually, we just didn't have that information decided yet when we posted, but we didn't want to wait to post the actual dates of the calendar at that time, so.
No other questions for Ms. Gallagher?
On that one? Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good
And,
job on all those, so many things.
well, we continue to try very hard to get that done, and it's something that, you know, we stick with, and I know that it's a huge need, so we will keep moving forward. I do appreciate the fact that we've been given a little bit more time to do it, and it's paying dividends because we're finding individuals to fill these spots. I do want to also just kind of briefly end on a positive with reflecting on the new teacher week and start by saying, you know, thank you, Ms. Thompson, again, for being present on the 27th of July, welcoming in our new family members to ACPS. I think that went over very well. I think they're a very energetic group. They're undaunted, folks who are looking forward to the year. I felt a good energy from them. They started off a little quiet maybe in the morning. Got them into working on comprehensive plan activities, delving into some group work, and they're just an energetic and great communicating group. I was just very impressed with what they brought to the table. We were able to provide them some of the professional development, as we talked about, that all of our teachers received in June to kind of get them up kind of a level playing field jumping into our teacher work weeks so that they weren't more overwhelmed to get that once they started. Had opportunities to work with their mentors, which looks a little bit different this year, but they have those opportunities, and mentoring is probably even more so important now in this year with everything going on in many respects than it has been in the past. We had a wonderful time on the tour of the school division. We had 3 buses that we took out, and all the new teachers throughout. Some of them were had grown up around here, so they kind of could have given the tour themselves. But I was fortunate enough to participate on Dr. Wells' bus, and so I got a great education myself going across Amherst County. It was fabulous. And I also want to have a special thank you to our tour guides, not only Dr. Wells, but Mr. Joey Crawford and Kelly Holmes assisted on the other buses. And Joey, I think he has just that smooth tour guide voice, so he was ready for that challenge. But it was just a good week overall, and I think it really did acclimate our new teachers and really put them a little bit more at ease, at least jumping into this year that they're facing together with all of us coming in. So, but thank you all for your participation in that. And that's all I have for the evening.
Thank you so much. Anything else, Ms. Gallagher? No? All right. Can you say the best for
Well, this has been a very difficult board meeting for me. As you know, I love to talk. But I chose the format of this for a reason, because I wanted you to see the type of work that my staff has put in and how impressive they are and the type of work that they do. And I just wanted you to get a sense of all of the things that we put a huge plan out, but now we're trying to implement that plan, and that takes planning and hard work. And so the folks you heard from tonight, that's just a small number of the people that have been just doing everything they can to get us to where we need to be. So based on, so I want to say, number one, I'm very fortunate to have a team of professionals like we have. They have been fantastic all through this. So I just want to publicly thank them all. Based on what they presented to you tonight, it's clear we're working hard to get to September 9th to have in-person learning and to have remote learning. So I am not coming to you tonight with a recommendation to change anything to our plan. I do want to recommend, however, that we come back in 2 weeks. That will be the August 27th, and that will give us 2 more weeks prior to September 8th, because I think it's important for us to continue to monitor our trends. And so I would like for you guys to consider coming back here August 27th. I do want to go through some of the healthcare data that has been referred to already tonight. But the last time we met, we had 101 cases in Amherst County. We are at 196. And so that's a quick rise here in Amherst County. And one of the things that we recognize here in Amherst County is that if you look on the VDH website, they show outbreaks. And in Central Virginia, the largest number of outbreaks are now in like congregating events. That makes sense. So like when large groups of people get together, that's where we're having some issues. And so since I have the stage and the microphone, I want to continue to urge our community to do the things that are necessary that are going to allow us to get back into school. I know you guys might have seen our PSA that we did to try to get some folks to think about some of the health mitigation strategies. And so we recognize that we can do all of this work, and it might do us no good if the entire, if we have a terrible surge here moving forward, and then we might not even get to make that call. And so I just want to urge our community to continue to work with us to try to get that curve back down for us. I did give you a number last time on positivity rates because the governor uses positivity test rates. As he discusses where hotspots are, the state average is currently at 8%. So 8% of the tests given return a positive case. Last time we met, we were at 3.4, and today we've moved up to 4.8. So that's not great, but it is still better than the state average. And so I want you to just always recognize we watch that count every day. Our worst day in the county was Friday of last week, and so hopefully that's a peak. That's certainly our hope. But I want you to know what that information was. I have a few things I'd like to share that are kind of not exactly about us being in school and teaching, but there are some things I think you guys need to know about. One is technology. We're still working very hard at trying to find options for our students. Ms. Couch and the folks at Lit Community just finished a grant asking $150,000 to help us with some long-term solutions for providing internet in our community. The Board of Supervisors, they met with their broadband authority, which is the Board of Supervisors, and they committed to spending $500,000, I believe, of their CARES Act money on short-term solutions for school children on how to access internet. So there's an RFP that's going out this week, I believe. I think it's this week or next week. Yeah. The RFP has gone out. We're interviewing the people on the 26th. And so some of the things that they're looking at are there's a device called Wireless on Wheels, and it's not a hotspot. It's an actual wireless internet provider, but you can move these devices all around the community, and you get a lot more coverage. But you still have to drive up to it, but it's a lot better than what we have on our buses, and it's actually more reliable, and it doesn't throttle down if there are a bunch of people around it. So those are some of the things that are happening with that RFP for short-term solutions. I put in your packet this that came from Comcast. So Comcast is in Madison Heights and here in the town of Amherst. And they have a great program for students and families that would qualify under our free and reduced lunch or SNAP program, that if you have access to, you live in an area where you would receive Comcast, that they will give it to you for free internet for 2 months, and then after that it would only cost them $9.95. So Ms. Cruz and Mr. Crawford are putting this with their handbook, so our students who are doing the remote academy will have access to this document. So we're still trying to find as many avenues as we can, that we have ways to get information to our students without the internet, but we realize that having the internet is going to make that a lot easier. And so that's what we're working on with technology. Childcare, we talked to you about providing childcare for our staff, because our staff, obviously, we want them to come to work and also have children, and so we wanted to provide a service to them. And so these 4 weeks of Teacher Work Week, we have every building covered with childcare for our staff. So our teachers can bring their children while they work, and there's an adult that works with them every day. So that's what's happening for 4 weeks. Once school starts, we will provide childcare at every building prior to and after school. So they'll cover a large portion, and you have a childcare plan that Mr. Lyle or Dr. Lyle put together in board docs that shows you the times that they'll be there. And so these are the things that we're doing. We also put in a budget. As you can see, that's quite a investment in our folks to take care of their childcare needs. But we also wanted to make sure that you knew that with childcare, the YMCA programs were still going to be in operation at the same schools that they were in last year, so our community can access that childcare. The one that we are providing as a school system is only for our staff. So that's the childcare. Were there any questions about the technology or the childcare? I can answer those before I go to the last two things I have. I think it's good that we're able to provide that for our staff. It really relieves a lot of their stress and anxiety. The last two things are about what we're calling the virtual school opening. And so, as you know, in the past, we have open house right before school starts, and we invite everybody in and crowd the halls and parents and students, and they go meet all of their teachers, and they do those kinds of things. We can't do that this year. So what we are doing is we are providing a virtual school opening. And what's going to happen, Mr. Cargill and his team have been out the last week and will be, I believe, next week as well, filming each school. And so each school, I was able to watch the one for Temperance, and Mr. Crawford did a great job with that. But basically, it will be a video that every school will produce to welcome their students. It will go through things like, for example, at elementary school, what recess is going to look like, what going through the cafeteria is going to look like, who the people in the school that they'll encounter. It's basically, this is what our school looks like, but it's on video. I will do one for the division. The schools will do one, and then every teacher will do a video. So on September 1st, the high schools will be put out there. And so what will happen is our high school parents can they could either go online, or they can drive to the school and sit in the parking lot and access our internet and do the virtual school opening there. They'll be able to view the video that Dr. Brown and his staff put out, what I put out, and then they'll be able to see their teachers as well through the video. The next night, September 2nd, our middle schools will release theirs, and then September 3rd, the elementary schools will be out. It is asynchronous, it's not live, so they don't have to be there at any particular time, and they don't have to do it on that date. But we just needed a release date to put out there. And so we feel like there's lots of parameters for what we want each school to talk about, so there's some consistency in each of these videos that all of our schools will address. I can go over those. I can give you the document if you want to see the things that they'll specifically cover. So that's the virtual school opening. And then last year, or 2 years ago, you guys approved a calendar that had a transition day in it. And transition day was a day that was prior to the first day of school, one day before the first day of school, where we were bringing in our pre-K, kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade. So students who were new to their school. We know that that's a very stressful thing to do, is to transition to another school. And so we wanted that day to be able to bring those students in without all the other students and give them a sense of kind of calm and have it all be about them, so we could help them learn some of the things that they need to know about their school. This year, we are going to do that again. We're going to do it on September 8th, which is the day before all students return. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the A block students. So we have A students in the elementary, middle, and high school. The A students will come in from 8 to 11, and the B students will come in from 12:30 to 3:30. That way we can get it all done in one day. But what we will do is the elementary students will ask parents to come, and what will happen is that parents will come in and they'll be taken somewhere else, and the students will go with their teacher. That way they can start to, at the elementary with kindergarten and pre-K, they can start to learn how to separate. And so the parents will then go work with the administrator on some expectations and those kinds of things. But then the secondary students will they'll come by themselves, and they'll get their kind of orientation or transition activities, so they can feel more comfortable about the year ahead, because we know it's going to be stressful for a lot of our kids, and especially those that are transitioning. So those are some of the things that we've done in the past that look a little different, and I wanted you to just know what those were. Those are yet other things that we're planning and putting in place. But like I said before, this has been a great group, and all the things that they've done to get us to this point is pretty amazing. And so those are the things that I wanted to share with you. I know it's not my usual hour, but I gave way tonight. And so do you guys have any questions for me, in particular with school open?
No, your guys did a great job answering everything for you. Thank you.
They did. That was kind of the point. Maybe I'll do that more often.
Okay, going on to 10 on 1 and get on out of here. Committee reports, let's start with Eric.
Yes, so we had a STEM Academy meeting just this week, and they rolled out their Return to Learn program. And they are going to have, so their seniors on the engineering trail are going to go on one day, and then the healthcare provider track is going to go on another day. So they've got them split out pretty well. They've actually got something that I hadn't seen before. They've got, everybody's got an app on their phone, and they have to answer in the affirmative that they've checked their temperature, that it was below, that they haven't come into contact with people who are quarantined and that kind of stuff before they're even allowed to get in the building. So every day that they go to the STEM Academy, they have to complete this. And so that's a good way of, for them to track all that. Susan Cash actually said that STEM Academy developed it and ACC now wants to use it. So I thought that was pretty good for them. But and they're facing the same struggles everybody is, so and they're doing the best they can. So we'll see how it goes once it starts up. So. Okay. You're welcome.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to the people that came out today to speak, to all the staff. I mean, I'm confident and pleased and impressed with everyone here. And I'm confident that even under the circumstances we are currently in, we're going to get through this. We're Amherst strong, and this is just going to be a little bump in the road, and we're going to have a great year for not only our staff, but our students and families also. Thank you.
So the governing school had a Zoom meeting last week, and Dr. Arnold was installed as superintendent in charge, and I was installed as chair. They're already back, I guess, been back a week or two
Yeah.
already
They were
at that
back.
point. They have the health check too. I don't think it was an app, but they have to do a health check, answer some questions before they're allowed back in. And Dr. Smith offered some not really recommendations, but more like challenging it was having kids in the hallway and things like that. And they have a smaller group of people. So for me, it was good to hear that feedback from someone who's already going through it. Those areas, lunchtime, when the kids want to congregate, when they want to talk, when they want to be around each other, it was good to hear that. And I thought we could take something away from his suggestions. And they still are not going to increase their tuition. Amherst, I think, has 16 spots there for governor's school. I don't know if we filled them all, but
Yes, we have.
okay, we got 8 juniors and 8 seniors there. And I was really impressed with everything he had to say about how they were doing their school, their return to learn. And I think they got it going on there.
And they're doing one day a week
Oh, yeah.
in person.
That's the other thing I'm going to say. They
Yeah.
did it by county.
County.
Like Amherst is Monday, Bedford's Tuesday. Yeah, they're just doing one day in school for their kids. Yeah, I thought that was good for him.
No, I don't, I'm not on a committee, or at least I'm chairing any committee, so. To go with that? Well, yeah, I'll thank everybody for all the hard work. I can't wrap my head around some of the stuff. I just can't imagine the intricacies of, I mean, we're not even getting the details of what you guys have gone through, so it's impressive, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I thank the guys that have come out and spoke today. There's a bright young man. His parents should be proud. So, no, thank you all. You guys are doing a great job.
Yes, of course, same things. I'm very proud of Amherst, and I was already proud of what we were doing anyway, but I can't imagine the heavy lift. Proud of our teachers for taking on the hybrid learning and the remote learning, and all of the staff at those schools that are going to support them and make this happen. I know everybody involved cares for the students and that we want the best, and we can't offer any guarantees or predictions, but I believe that our kids do need to be in school and face-to-face, so I think we have struck a good balance with, if you want your child to learn remotely, then we've offered a good service there too. So I'm just proud of everything everybody's doing for our kids.
I already did my thank you last round.
I just, sake of time, they've already hit on everything, and just my sincere thank you for all the work that y'all put into to making this happen. So.
Yeah, I like what Amanda had to say, that it's, we've got an option for everybody. It's well thought out. Like I said, the hours and time that you guys have put into coming up with thinking of things that we can't think of right offhand.
Yeah.
And trying to get those contingency plans for things that we know we're going to go wrong, and being prepared for those. It speaks volumes for our school system, speaks volumes for our county. I think we're in a good place. Have we eliminated all the hazards? No, we can't do that. But I believe we're going to put our best foot forward and do what we got to do to make this happen. So thank you for all your work, all your efforts, and as usual, the presentations that you put on are very informative. A lot of information. Most of us don't have questions because the stuff that you put out there answered the questions we had to start with. So thank you very much.
I also want to say thank you. Listening to you tonight, I was amazed at the amount of work that you're going to have to do, that you're already doing, that's above and beyond the normal educational work. just kept asking myself, we need to double our staff. You know, I know that's not possible, but I could just see the additional work you have. So I want to say thank you, because just opening school in a normal year is a lot of work. But in this year and this time, you are very valuable and very appreciated, so know that. And Dr. Arnold, we need to find a way to say thank you and to lift some of the spirits and before we get back into it, something fun, you know. But thank you again for everything. You've done a great job. And I know that we're offering options to parents. Just want to encourage parents to do what's right for their students. Thank them for coming alongside of us and alongside of you to make this possible. Just encourage everybody to do as much mitigation as they can. Like Dr. Arnold said, we want to get schools open for those students that feel they need to come in face to face. So as a community, as a school, as a school board, we need to do everything we can to make that possible for our kids. But thank you for doing everything that you guys do.
I'm going to be brief. I'm going to let you go. Everyone has talked. But as we all said, I think we all on the same way. The information that we've got tonight is just unreal. Unreal in the sense of the amount of work that has been done. And as Mr. Terry said, we don't have to ask a lot of questions because the presentations are so thorough. Such good fashion. So I appreciate all that from everyone. When Ms. Thompson was saying, I wish you could double, I thought you wanted to double yourself. Hold on. To double everybody's salary. Y'all call me in a year, say, tell me how that goes on. But to end up, we're just excited about what we're trying to do. You're exactly right. I said last time, it takes a village to raise these children, and means the village has got to kind of come together and get these numbers down. So I'm not going to be repetitive on that. We know what we have to do. I'm glad we mentioned, when we mentioned that the accreditation was waived from the state, someone came right behind it. That does not mean that we're lowering our standard of learning here in Amherst County. So we don't want the children to go, oh, yay, if I fail, it's okay. That is not even to be thought of. So whether it's remote or virtual, just pretend we're getting accredited and get all A's and B's, whether you're at home or in the classroom. So I'm just excited, and we will be back on the 27th. In between that time, when we have our citizen comment, and I wrote a few things down, we're trying to answer those questions. And what happens is the administrators in the house tonight, and one of your people had some concern, try to resolve that in conversation or communication. We'll try to do the same thing, but we hope we've answered as much as we can. This is a revolving door, and we don't know what the number's going to look like, but we're going to try to do the best we can, as everyone has said, for the children. So with that said, board members, is there anything we missed?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'm on my way. But I did want to say, I forgot my committee report, it's quick and easy. Laurel, we had a back to school session there as well, and Amherst has 7 students for Laurel this year. About 3 or 4 will be remote. The others haven't made their mind up, and then we're going to have some in-house learners. So things are well there. Dr. Lewis has a great plan to bring her people back in. I sat on the audit committee yesterday for TSBA. The money is good and things are well. We encourage you to read. They send out stuff every day, 3 times a day. But it's great because it keeps us knowing what's going on around the state. So we encourage you to stay on top of your game with that. And with that said, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, I will entertain a vote to adjourn.
Ms. McGinn, before we adjourn, this week, our superintendent was nominated and
He looks
awarded Citizen of the Year.
Oh.
Yes.
Effort. It's not, I think it's a team.
When this is all over, let me write this down. When this is all over, champagne for everybody. Now, motion adjourned.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.